Hey, Providence, I'm up here in the corner. You know that during this quarantine, there's so many amazing things going on as far as making sure we remind everybody that we're still on mission, that God is still working, that He is still doing all the things He's doing through us and has called us to do. And so I'm just going to continue trying to give you updates like that as often as I possibly can. And so today, we're going to get an update from Iceland. And so I have with me Logan and Carla Douglas, which you can see right front and center on the screen here. And so I'm just going to let them kind of share with you and update a little bit about what's going on over there in the midst of this. So how are you guys doing in the midst of this quarantine?
Doing well.
Yeah, well, all things considered, things are going well. Yeah, it's just one of those situations where I think it's affecting everyone in a similar way, and so there's kind of a destabilization of normal rhythms and patterns. But I mean, we've been very thankful for what consistency we've been able to maintain and technology that's connected us with people within the church, within the country, outside of the country. And so, yeah, I mean, again, all things considered, we're doing well.
So what is the feel of Iceland dealing with the virus and just the circumstances with the church and all of those things? Can you just kind of describe for us? We know how it feels for us. I'd love to hear what's going on there.
It was a bit unique leading up to what's going on now. So the current state of things, the government has issued a gathering ban, so nothing over 20 people. Physical distancing has been kind of implemented with 2 meters at a minimum, and so certain organizations, if they can't ensure that, then you can't really have business. A lot of organizations and businesses that deal with physical touch, like massage parlors, spas, beauty salons, gyms, pools have all been closed down. University and college have been closed down. Schools are still in working condition, but they're at halftime, so kids go every other day. I mean, things slowly got to a point that they're at now. But for a while, I think I really do think there was some frustration that it took so long to get some of the more restrictive plans in place and protocols in place. I think that just had a lot to do with the Icelandic economy. I think the fact that, within a decade, they've had an economic fallout and entered into a time of recession. And then because of tourism, the economy's picked back up. I just think that there was almost like a post-traumatic stress situation of people not wanting to overreact because of the effects this can have on the economy. But the Icelandic government's done well. There's an economic stimulus package similar to kind of what the states are doing, to where people are able to get unemployment if they're put out of work or if they put at reduced time. But by and large, kind of the just societal response is people are not going out. People are by and large staying inside, and so most all gatherings have ceased. The state Lutheran Church is not doing any confirmations. People who were having regular gatherings have all canceled those, and most of the people we know, even within our own church, are really trying to do their best of respecting the kind of the spirit of the ban. So we're not on lockdown like some countries, but the idea is that's really, we're trying to prevent the spread of it, and so people are doing well in keeping that. So we as a church even are trying our best to do that.
So the general state in the States about this issue is that we're really concerned, and there's a lot of urgency with it, but there has also come maybe this wave of panic and fear. Do Icelanders experience that? Is there a wave of fear that's gone through the people there?
Not really.
Not really, surprisingly.
I don't know if Icelanders panic about much.
They're
really
isolate.
Yeah, there's just I think they were made for this in a way. They're just kind of used to hard winters and just staying inside, and because of the harsh weather conditions and kind of how communal they are within their own home units and family units. This isn't really that much of a change of pace for a lot of people. If anything, it's just economic stipulations. But by and large, I would say Icelanders are not panicked by this. There's not this kind of, people aren't just storming the grocery stores for toilet paper. People aren't hoarding food. Even within our church, there's not this just sense of panic. I think most of the people who are kind of panicked are foreigners. I've seen on social media pages that I'm a part of Americans living in Iceland and foreigners living in Iceland, that there is and no, I'm not going to say it's not right. This is a unprecedented situation, and people are losing their lives. So there's an essence of this that we should respect COVID-19. We should understand that this is not something that we should just disregard. But I think Iceland at large has really done a good job of being level. So how has your church, I guess, reached out to folks, or how have they dealt with this as far as continuing the mission to make disciples? Is there a mindset change? Anything with that you can share with us? I don't. Of course, there have been changes. So we don't gather anymore. So our midweek gatherings have all but ceased. So our university gathering on Tuesday, our women's gathering on Wednesday, our men's gathering on Thursday. Although the women have started, they I think had a time of prayer and just touching base this past Wednesday. But we're hoping as a church to start having like a Wednesday midweek prayer time where we utilize things like Zoom to do that. Preaching has gone online. So this past Sunday, I was the first one to kind of pilot that, of just having, not even really a sermonic, but more of a devotional time of just gathering together, encouraging family worship. So we've adapted as a group that way. And we're really active in group messaging. So with Facebook, so we commonly share resources that come available with a lot of ministries that are sharing just great ways of helping people grow in their faith and get good theology training and stuff. So we share a lot of those. We share prayer requests among the membership and just ensuring that people know if there's anything that we can do for them, we want to during this time. So that's within the church. Outside of the church, really we're just saying, like, to the best of your ability while being safe, reach out to those. So I almost on a daily basis message guys who I have relationships with, both Icelandic and non-Icelandic, and just check on them and just, how are you doing? I've been sending home workouts for people to do and just checking up and, kind of just encouraging them to be active during this time. And so, and there's kind of this cool thing, and I don't know, honestly, if anyone's done it, but I proposed, because I got it from some church in the States, of reaching out to your neighbors and just saying, like, it's a form that you can put in everyone's mailbox within an apartment complex that just says, hey, this is who I am, this is my number. If you need someone to go get you groceries, if you need someone to go and get you your pharmacy medications, you need someone to take out your trash or what have you. It's just little acts of kindness that you can do. I've really encouraged people who are in apartment complex situations to kind of do that. And I mean, one of the main ways we've just been really encouraging our people to love their neighbor, one is just respecting the spirit of the ban, ensuring that they're staying healthy so that they don't spread it to the most vulnerable people within the community. Because, I mean, we see Jesus time and time again saying that that's really the heart of the Christian mission, is to care for the most vulnerable. And so keeping yourself from being an asymptomatic carrier is very important. But also, even just, I think of, verses like 1 Peter 3:15, that in the midst of all of this, the hope we have in Christ should be something that is so contrary to what's going on at large that it gives people an opportunity to say, why are you okay in this time? So really just encouraging people to have joy and peace and hope in the midst of all of this. that whatever's going on right now, Jesus is still on his throne. God is still sovereign, and God has a purpose for all things, most especially the evil that was done to Jesus Christ on the cross. And so it's just understanding and peace that comes from understanding God's in control. And yeah, so whether that's how you communicate to people, what you communicate to people, how you don't react, all of those just being kind of that salt and light in a forced digital age, I guess.
So Providence, just to kind of pull you into the conversation, you may have heard about the things going on in Iceland, that the Iceland project kind of started with a church plant, and Logan and Carla are part of that church right now with the intent of planting another church. And you may have heard about Jason Haydash and Heather making their commitment that they're going to go and help support the work and the things that are going on. But our goal as a church is to partner with them to plant churches. So this is a church planting church. And what we're really praying for is just kind of a movement to happen. And so the summer trips that we were taking, those things were there to support Logan and Carla and the work that they're doing. And so with this, those trips are going to be postponed. And so I really would love to hear just more about what's going on with the plant, the church plant timeline. I know that anytime we make plans in missions, we should know that we are not only flexible, but broken before the Lord. So what is happening as far as the church plant and the process?
Lord knows. No, I'm playing. But yeah, no, there is some truth to that. We make our plans, God establishes our steps. We trust in the sovereign God of the universe, who's able to shipwreck us to get us to where he wants us to be. And so in this process, we had plans. We were planning to get commissioned out by Lofstepen on April the 26th and enter into this 4-month build-up phase to a public launch of a church. And we were gathering core team members. So now we have 6. Jason and Heather will be 7 and 8 with their 2 girls. Hannah, who was an intern that was with us for 3 months in the fall, will come back. So that's 9. And we had summer interns. We had 4 summer interns lined up. 2 were going to stay with us for 3 months. 1 was going to be a sports intern for sports camp. 1 was going to be an arts intern for arts camps. We had 12 teams lined up to come, one of those being a vision trip. And all of that now is probably not happening, at least not in the capacity and the time that we were originally planning. So we're just really giving it all to the Lord in prayer and just understanding that these are times where we really get to feel what is always true, which is God's in control. We're not. And so we're just communicating with these teams, and we will see what happens with just the COVID-19 in general, but then specifically with travel bans and kind of how the culture responds. But as far as the timeline goes, we're still planning to plant this church, insofar as we have 6 people in this country who are planning to be a part of this church, and we're going to plant a church, even if it's with 6 people in a home. And then we will see what happens. So we still intend to utilize teams for strategic outreach and community engagement. We still want teams to come and pray and be encouraging and be encouraged and all of those things. So we're still looking for teams to come be a part of that, and really could use the manpower. But it's just shifting things to the right. We believe that Christ will build his church. We believe that's what God has brought us here, is to see churches multiplied. And so I was talking to a guy today, just like in the past week, I just had this vision of trying to plant 3 churches within 2 years. And I have strategic places of, one would be apartment ministry, one could be a home church, and then one could be near a college campus. And I just don't see why something like COVID-19 would stop that. It just looks different. It has a new set of challenges, but the church is people. That's what it is. It's a gathered family of God in local little gatherings. And I mean, we just trust that God is still calling us to that work, that work hasn't been put on pause in light of this. So yeah, so the timeline, again, is shifted to the right. It's going to look different than what we originally thought. But yeah, we don't really know what all that means right now. As things come to light, we just adapt and overcome. We're just asking people to be in deep prayer for wisdom and for guidance, and just not only for us. I mean, this is the reality for a lot of church plants all across the world who, are kind of smaller, who are not able to gather right now. Those who are in many different various points of planting. Just that we remember that you get a group of Christians together, and there's the preaching of the gospel and the right administration of the ordinances. I mean, you got a church. And so that can be in a whole variety of forms. So yeah, I don't know I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great. Providence, the thing we want to do is just remind ourselves that the mission doesn't stop because of this, that our partners are still working. I love what you guys said about the continuing work of the church plant and the things that are happening. We want to see that too. And so I don't want to keep you all day. Just closing out, how can Providence pray? We're a praying church. We're a sending church, and we would love to know how we can pray for you all specifically.
Well, you can pray for Carla.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can pray for me and healthy pregnancy.
Yeah, Carla's currently 10 weeks pregnant, and so pray for almost 11. So pray for Carla and for baby Douglas. Pray for the core team that we're praying will assemble, to including the Hay Dashes. I talk to Jason every week. We're super excited about him and Heather and the girls coming here, and so just praying for just them planning on how to get here and that time frame and the logistics of all of that. Pray for the core team. Specifically when they gather, that we just all be united in the faith once and for all delivered to the saints, and that we all have a shared vision and just culture of what we believe that Redeemer City Church is going to be about, which is just making disciples who plant churches, who make disciples that plant churches in Iceland and even beyond. And just that, I mean, really that this situation would wake a lot of people up in this country to the instability of their own faith in whatever it is. And that when everything kind of shakes out, that there would be many opportunities for us to really proclaim the gospel, and that people would come to faith in Jesus Christ.
All right. I just really appreciate it. Providence, let's just continue to do our part. We know they're doing their part. And so we're so excited to see how God is going to use us together to help spur on this church planting movement. Pray for the Hay Dashes. Jason left us as far as the staff goes about a month ago at Providence Church, and is working now on a job where he can transition into something a little more mobile. And so continue to pray for them and the process and all the things that are going on. We are so thankful for being able to be a part of this. Thank you all for having this opportunity to talk to you. And man, we just wish you the best. Okay.